Because how do the Browns become a playoff team in 2025? Look at the keys here for my depth chart that I've color coded to make it a little easier to look at. Guys that would cut are in red, guys coming back from IR, guys that don't make a difference, and then yellow and green are PFF grades, and then guys that might leave here: Myles Garrett, Joe Bitonio. Bitonio might retire. Myles Garrett wants to see a team that's not going to be in a rebuild. Probably same with Joe Bitonio. I'm not sure he wants to be on a team that's going to suck. So we'll jump into the big thing that you want to talk about here is quarterback. We all know Deshaun Watson's been an absolute trash can. So how do we fix that? We bring in a veteran presence, and then we draft somebody. I got positions here that I would draft. So based on our 9 picks. So we're looking at Kirk Cousins and Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers' PFF grade is 76.5. Kirk Cousins 74.3. Both older guys. Both guys, if they got released, would be being paid by the former team, so they would come with a very small cap hit because they wouldn't have to get big contracts here. Now with Aaron Rodgers would become Devontae Adams. A lot of rumors in the Jets right now have them both being released. If that happens, they're getting paid by the former team. So coming here makes total sense because we can't pay a lot, and they wouldn't need to be paid a lot. Instantly, you have a number 1 wide receiver, number 1 quarterback who have been proven. And if you think Aaron Rodgers is the problem with the Jets, you need to stop reading the media and actually watch the games yourself, or not the media, the fans online. Because Aaron Rodgers has a QBR rating of 89 point something, and you know that where that would stand with the Browns all time Browns quarterback play, QBR rating. Aaron Rodgers this year would have been 89. I'm sorry, third place all time. His 89 something QBR rating would be third all time. It's crazy. His down year would be phenomenal for the Browns. And let's talk about QB play for a second. QB play with Deshaun Watson and DTR have been very similar. It's the drop back, dink and dunk, get sacked because you're holding on the ball too long, or overthrow balls down the field. Like, it's been atrocious watching them. You look at Jameis Winston, who came in instantly, a different dynamic. This team looks so different. The amount of yards that were thrown, especially to Jerry Jeudy from Jameis Winston, was crazy compared to what you saw previously in the year. Now, the problem with Jameis Winston is he likes to throw the other team, so that's always going to be a problem with him. But it shows you the hope that you're looking for as the Browns. And especially you saw it with Joe Flacco 2 years ago, that it's possible. It's possible to have this team and this offense be good. So along with Aaron Rodgers, I think you have to talk about the core, or the running back rather. So Nick Chubb, will he resign? I think it's probably likely. I'm sure both parties want him to stay here. He's the face of the franchise right now. Everyone loves Nick Chubb. I think on both sides, in the front office and the fans. He's obviously had a down year and he broke his leg again, so it kind of sucks. But you need another running back in here to go with Ford. Quite frankly, I don't know how much we believe in Ford. He had a pretty good year though, 71.2. But Aaron Jones makes a lot of sense if you're bringing in Aaron Rodgers, because he is a Rodgers guy, like through and through. He always said that Aaron Rodgers was his quarterback in Green Bay, and they have a good relationship right now. Those two guys speak highly of each other. I think it would be a great dynamic to bring them back. And then another running back we can talk about is J.K. Dobbins, former Buckeye, 26-year-old. He obviously had the same rehab with Aaron Rodgers, so he brings that dynamic as too. 4.8 yards per attempt. Like, he had a good year this year, and he's going to be a free agent. Even if we don't get Aaron Jones or Aaron Rodgers, I think J.K. Dobbins is somebody that we're going to target, or at least try to talk to, because it makes a lot of sense. So let's just talk about if we had Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins, same situation. If he gets dropped, he would get paid by his former team and save a lot of money for us. So I think you need to target J.K. Dobbins with him. And then the only problem with Kirk Cousins is you're not going to get that wide receiver to come with him. So who else do you get to go in tandem with Jerry Jeudy? Do we really want to sit with Cedric Tillman? I don't think so. I don't think he's proven enough. We need another veteran guy in here at least that's not that can give us more production. And right now Tillman shows me he's a number 3 wide receiver. And even if he's not, even if he shows something, we need more presence in the wide receiver department. Elijah Moore is going to be an unrestricted free agent, so he needs to go. He hasn't shown us anything. PFF graded 58.3. So if we bring in Brandon Cooks, I think Cooks fits pretty well. He's an older guy, but he's still playing in a good level. PFF grade 63.1. Obviously not that great a PFF grade, but he's had 0 drops this year and then only 3 last year. He's a guy who can come in here and kind of show the wide receiver core a thing or two. Even if we don't get crazy good production from him, he's got to be a guy who's going to run routes well, catch the ball, and be reliable, which is something we're missing right now. Aside from Jerry Jeudy, Romeo Doubs is the other one that I really want to focus on. I think that could be a big name this offseason. You're looking at the Packers wide receiver room, which is getting full, and Dobbs is on his last year, along with Christian Watson. One of those guys that's probably going to go. It makes a lot of sense for the Packers to trade him or Watson to get some more room for the younger guys that are in there too, that are being really productive when there's injuries. So Dobbs is somebody who was suspended earlier this year, and because he wasn't getting the production he wanted, they kind of kept that close to the chest, so the reasons and whatnot. But he comes in here, Rodgers and him already have a tiny rapport, and they've already respected each other a lot. So I think those two guys would be great. Even if they don't have Rodgers, though, Dobbs is a phenomenal wide receiver and a lot better than a lot of wide receivers that you can get in this draft. So to me, it's worth trading him, even if you want to use that draft pick that you're going to take a wide receiver with and get Dobbs. I mentioned Chris Godwin here and T. Higgins just as phenomenal wide receivers that we could get, but we're talking 20 million contracts that probably can't manage to get. But maybe there's some way we finagle something to get that going. So let's talk about the line. We have some line issues right now with new coach this year. Jones has a bad PFF grade, but it's kind of hard to believe after what I've seen. I thought he played pretty well, but there must have been something there. But in any case, he's a young guy, he broke his leg, and he's going to come back and be in the fight for one of the tackle spots. And Jack Conklin had a really good year this year, so I think relatively he's going to lock down that right side. Really, it's just going to be him fighting for the left side. And then Batonio and Teller are guys that are getting paid very well, but Joe might retire. Why Teller might be a cut just to save money, but ultimately you're not saving that much money unless you're bringing in a guy, unless you're tanking. I mean, if you're trying to rebuild, then you've got to get rid of him so you can save money. But if you're going to get a better guard to fill in that spot, it doesn't make much sense because you're probably going to be paying him very similar to what you're getting back in return for the cut, if that makes sense. So the guys that I think we should look into, number one is Ronnie Staley, Baltimore left tackle, PFF grade 70.9 and an astounding 78 pass blocking grade. He's 30 years old. He's still relatively young for a lineman. I think he knows the division, so like he would be a great fit for this. And even if you want to move Jones to a third string, like for either tackle, I think that's a great thing to have. Linemen always get injured, so you need guys that are going to be in there that are going to be good. Cornelius Lucas, a great guy from Washington who had a phenomenal year. Same thing here. Look, 79.1 pass blocking. He's 33 years old, a little older. He might be even cheaper, honestly. And Tyron Smith is probably going to be the cheapest. He's 34 years old and had an okay year. I think it's obviously better than what we had with our line. And he worked with Rodgers too for a little bit of the season, but he's just an all-around vet. You might have known him from Dallas. He's just going to be a good guy on the line if you can get something like that for cheap. And then the big name here is Will Freeze. If we're going to get rid of, say, Batonio retires and we're looking for a big stud or something that we can spend some money on, he's coming off a rookie contract. We have to pay him a lot. And Zeitler, old friend here, he is getting older, so he can probably come back for a cheaper contract. Now, I don't think he's going to really leave Detroit unless they win the Super Bowl, and he just wants to move on to somewhere he likes. That maybe fits better. I know he's always enjoyed blocking for Chubb, so maybe something like that. And then ultimately to round it off on offense, you got Mercedes Lewis that I think would be a great locker room guy to change the culture, kind of do what Jameis Winston did. He's kind of that similar type of guy. Plus he can still play even though he's old. He can still play at a pretty good level. Just sit him in at third string tight end. You don't ask a lot from him, and I think that would be great. Ultimately, if you can't get anybody and you're looking to maybe get something going, I think Joe Flacco, a huge Joe Flacco fan, I think a lot of you out there are too, bring him back. He's shown what he did in Indianapolis is that he can still do it. He can still do it at a high level. He hasn't been playing perfect there, but man, you remember what he did here. It was like a different team when Flacco went under center. So I think ultimately, if you can't get these two guys, that's got to be your next choice. Or as a side note, Justin Fields I think would be a dynamic player in here, but I think he's probably going to want too much money. Maybe not. Maybe because he hasn't shown anything. Maybe no one else wants to take a chance on him. Maybe it makes sense for him to come here. But I like a guy who can pass down the field a little better than Fields. Fields is obviously a dynamic player, and he might work in this division. But I digress. Let's move on to the defense. Myles Garrett, obviously, we want to keep here. But the defense, look at all this green. Look at all this green right here. Our defense has had good grades, and Tomlinson, he's had a good stretch towards the end of the season here. I think if you look at his PFF grade just for the last 3 games, it was pretty high, way higher than 67.5. So you got guys you got a lot of pieces here that are doing well, and we can kind of focus on and just fill in back ends. The side we need to really focus on though is the DBs. Obviously Denzel Ward is Denzel Ward, but if we look at Delpit and Thornhill and Emerson Jr. and Newsome, we got guys that aren't playing very well against the pass here. So Emerson Jr. has had a down year. Man, he was so exciting years prior, but I'm not so sure he's worth anything right now. Kind of one of those guys I think you let sit here with that 1-year contract, and you want him as a backup. You want to move him away, to me. And Newsome, man, huge down year. I'm not sure he's going to be worth anything. He's on a 5th-year contract, or the rookie 5th-year deal. So that's guaranteed money. But the way I understand it is if he gets traded, that new team takes on that 5th year. So we can go ahead and trade Newsome unless we think he's going to take a step up this year. Trade Newsome and then get another guy. So let's explore that route. So if we trade Newsome, we're probably going to get a 5th or 6th round in that situation, which kind of sucks because I think Newsome's way better than that. But if we just want to get rid of that deal and then move on to another guy like Byron Murphy, man, this dude's flat out balled this year. 73.8. He's a ball hawk. He leads the league in interceptions. He's only 26 years old, come off the rookie contract. So a guy we would have to probably pay. But if we get rid of that 13 mil, I mean, we kind of make that room alone to make him fit. And say we wanted to go cheaper and kind of like make something else fit. You know what also makes sense? Mike Hilton. Mike Hilton was with Pittsburgh and Cincinnati, and he's done phenomenally well in this division, especially versus the run. You put him as nickel and expect him to block up the run. Look at his 91.7 against the run. That's 1st in the league. This dude is a monster at nickel. And if he gets let go from Cincinnati, I don't know how you wouldn't want him, especially with all his knowledge with the different teams there. It makes so much sense for the Browns to take a look at him. DJ Reed has all but said he's gone from the Jets. Rasheed Douglas is somebody that I've admired in Green Bay and kind of had a down year in Buffalo, although I'm not sure that they're really utilizing him very well. But he was an interception magnet in Green Bay, so given the right situation, I think you get him for cheap because he's 30 years old, and if he's in the right defense, he's going to play well. So he could be cheap and a good guy to plug and play in some of these spots. DJ Reed, obviously, he's a little older, but you're gonna have to pay him well, and I think he'd come in here and be a great corner next to Denzel Ward if you wanted to move that route. And then, man, Justin Reed, if you can somehow get him away from the Chiefs, say the Chiefs wants to move, but he's another guy you're gonna have to pay. So again, you can't get all these guys, but I'm just pointing out guys that you want to look for to make a dynamic spot. If Justin Reed can come in, you're probably gonna get rid of Thornhill and that contract, and then use that money towards Justin Reed, which is he's a premier safety right now. Plus, he can kick 60-yard field goals. How great is that? I mean, for the kickoffs and stuff, I don't think he's really doing that very much, but I mean, and that really doesn't matter to him playing a safety, but he's just a dynamic safety that you'd want. Oops. And then, So the other spot I'm going to look at here is Devin Bush. He's a restricted free agent, but now, man, after having a 78 PFF grade, we really got to re-sign him. I think he came in here and did really well. If we're looking at more depth for an edge rusher, Rodgers here has played for Pittsburgh and numerous other teams and has been phenomenal against the run. Look at 90.3 PFF grade against the run and a 71 or 75.1 PFF grade overall. I mean, that's just great depth. Another veteran guy to come in here and help out the defense and some of the younger guys that are jumping in. And then a guy who I just kind of focused here as might be able to replace Ogobo Arco. I can never say his name. Ogobo. So Joseph Asayo had a PFF grade of 59.5. He's 24 years old, so he's probably going to be a cheap contract because he hasn't played very well in Cincinnati, but he's a young guy. I think you can bring him in and kind of plug and play him in here, and he already knows the division, so that's already a leg up. I like what I've seen from him in some spurts to make him join the list of guys that you just might want to take a look out for that we might add for depth-wise. He's not going to be coming here to be a starter or anything, but I think he's somebody to just take a look out for, is what I'm saying. And then we all know Dustin Hopkins has had some issues, but he's got a fully guaranteed contract this year, so it kind of makes no sense to get rid of him unless he's like really, screwing things up. Matt Prater is somebody that I'd love to see. He just went on the IR for Arizona, and he might come back, but he's a free agent after this year, so they'd have to re-sign him. If for whatever reason we want to move on from Hopkins and still pay him, maybe Matt Prater wants to come here. I'm sure he's going to be looked at by other teams, but obviously I think he's the top choice for kickers right now. Joey Sly is another guy that I've always been a fan of, but he's had some accuracy issues. Ultimately, I think he would be good to bring in for competition with Hopkins, and then also, obviously, for kickers, you can always just bring in a rookie for competition. We'll see what happens next year, but Hopkins is ultimately probably going to be the kicker next year, and if we can get him back to what he was, I think he's a good pick. So, or not a good pick, he's a good kicker. If he sticks to where he was, I don't know what happened to him, but let's look at the draft picks. I have more X's than I do 9 picks, just to kind of pinpoint areas that we could go. So we need a wide receiver, first and foremost, to add to this list. Absolutely. Even if we get Dobbs and Cooks, or say, even if we get 2 of these guys, we're probably going to want another guy, a late guy that we can plug and play with these other guys to see who makes the roster the best. And then linemen. We for sure need 2 linemen here. Now, whether we get a safety or a center or a guard or tackle, we need 2 guys. I think we need to draft 2 guys to jump in here and play around with some of this depth, because a lot of these guys have not played well. Dunn and Harris did not have good PFF grades, and I don't think did well at all. You look at Hudson's PFF 50.4. I mean, obviously PFF grades are PFF grades, but they're pretty telling a lot of the times when it comes, especially to blocking. I don't think these guys. I did not like what I saw in Jermaine this year at all. I remember there's a few times that he just got blown by. So anyway, I just think the line should be overhauled. And then you look at tight ends, it doesn't really matter. I think it might be nice to get a tight end in the draft. Obviously, that goes away if you take Lewis. You're probably not going to take any tight end in the draft, and maybe bring in some undrafted guys. Quarterback is an absolute must. We're for sure drafting a quarterback. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. First round, second round, third round, probably a higher draft pick. Running back, you should always draft a running back in the draft, because you never know what stud you're going to get, especially in late rounds. Even if we grab one of these guys, we should have Chubb, Ford, and Jones or Dobbins, and then a rookie as well. The defense, I think we need a guy on the line. It's pretty obvious. Now, whether it's an edge rusher or a tackle, or both, I think that's the way to go. We definitely need a linebacker, and then a safety, or a cornerback and safety is definitely where we need to go to. I know it's a lot of positions, but we have a lot of draft picks. So anyway, that's how I would make the Browns a better team in 2025. So you tell me your thoughts. Do I have something wrong here? Do you think I'm stupid? Do you think I'm right? Discuss it. I'd love to hear more of it, and I'll be in the comments.